Hi everyone, let us take a look at how we can install Confluent Kafka on Cloud Pak for integration version 2020.4.1, which was released sometime in December. If you look at it, I have a Cloud Pak for integration up and running. I have used IBM Cloud. I had the OpenShift cluster with 4 node up and running, where I have already installed Cloud Pak for integration. So now we are going to install Confluent Kafka on top of this Cloud Pak for integration platform version 2020.4.1. Before that, let us take a look at the Knowledge Center where they are talking about Confluent Platform deployment. So in this version only IBM introduced this Confluent platform deployment, but the way we provide the Confluent binaries for you to install is you need to download it from the Passport Advantage site. It is a two-step process. After the after you purchase the Cloud Pak for integration with the add-on, which is nothing but the Confluent platform. Once you have the license to purchase, you need to download it. The moment you click this link, it will take you to a page which talks about the version that it supports, the Cloud Pak for integration, and from where you can download, and the information for you to know more about the Confluent platform and the operator. The first step is you have to have, if you are a customer, IBM will always provide the the licensed software through the Passport Advantage website. So you should have an IBM ID, you should have a license first, and then you log into the Passport Advantage site to download the Confluent operator. Here in this particular video, we are going to talk about the Confluent platform installation on OpenShift. Hence, we need to choose the right part number. There are a lot of part numbers which talks about the platform it supports, description, and the part number, right? So we'll be focusing on this particular part number and the operator, because when we are installing OpenShift, Confluent on OpenShift, we have to have an operator. So we'll be making use of this operator. So when you log into your Passport Advantage site, you can search for the part number, and then you can download the appropriate. Just because I'm an IBMer, I have an access to my software repository, I can download it to my laptop. But in your case, if you're a business partner, you have to download it from your from the developer partner portal, but check before whether you have an entitlement to download. So I may not confirm that. As long as you find this particular software by searching the part number, which means you have an entitlement to download. So that is how you should understand. So so now we have downloaded it. Let's go back to the documentation. This is the step 1. To install the Confluent platform, follow the instruction in the README, which is bundled in the package. So let me take a look at it. Okay, so this is the bundle that I have downloaded. It is close to 7 GB. I have untarred it. You will find the readme.txt, which contains the instruction for you to install the Confluent on OpenShift. Let's take a look at it. Okay, so take a look at the README file. So the prerequisite, you should have a Docker image when you're doing it in your local machine. Then we need to tag the image, the images that has been loaded to your local Docker, tag the image, and then push it to the remote registry. So you may wonder, if you are doing it on IBM Cloud, where will you push it? Since I'm using IBM Cloud, I have a registry available online. So there are instructions clearly given, like how you can log into the IBM container registry. um, log into IBM Cloud, create container registry, how to do the tagging, how to push. So you have the complete information provided in the IBM Cloud. So I'm not going to show how to do that. I will take a pause here because I need to tag my images and then push it to my registry. Like, say for example, if you look at it, we have a namespaces and repository. If you look at the instruction, it is clearly says you have to have a repository namespaces. Namespaces could be of the name that you want to maintain, and repository could be your specific, say for example, Confluent, right? So otherwise it could be the Confluent inc. This could be the registry name, sorry, repository name. Namespace could be your name, and repository could be your name. Let's take a look at it. Let's execute this, and let's do step-by-step process. Okay, let us do the Docker load of the Confluent platform to my local Docker. So I've navigated to the location where I have this tar file, and let us issue the command docker load. Let's wait for a while. So we have completed the loading of the Docker images. Now let us take a look at what is the second step that we need to follow. Eventually it is Docker tagging, and then the third step is push. So second step is Docker tagging. For that they've given an instruction for you to do the Docker tagging. But if you look at the parameter, you need to know the registry host name and registry port. Okay, so how are we going to do this? Let's find out. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to make use of the container registry in IBM Cloud. So I also mentioned that in the quick start they've given you the clear instruction on how to log in, how to create, etc. So if you scroll down under the put the image to your private registry, you will find the host name. This is nothing but us.ibmcontainerregistry.io. So this will be your host name. Okay, let us make use of this host name, and the port, I believe it will take 443 by default if you don't mention. Let's try it out. So as I mentioned, so I'm going to make use of us.ibmcontainerregistry.io as a host name, and then we are going to create the Docker tag for the list of images that has been provided by this Confluent platform. Just to understand, what is this command all about? We have already loaded the image. Let's take a look at it. Before we tag, just take a look at what this command does. Okay, so I'm going to run that command and check. Let's take a look at it. So when you run that command, what it does is it lists all the images that has been provided as a part of the Confluent platform. So this is the kind of registry or repository where this is the name of the image and this is the tag, which is the latest. So we have all the images with the appropriate registry and the image name. So let's go back and understand. So the output of this command will be given as an argument to the Docker tag. So The Docker tag, what it does is it adds the host name, right, / and then the repository. Okay, so in our case, how are we going to do? Are we going to consider um, few more levels? So when I say few more levels, we have something called namespace. So we have something called namespace and then a repository. So this is how we should do the tagging. According to the instruction, we have to have a namespace. So let me show you what is that namespace. If you go to the namespaces, you can create the namespaces that you want. I have already created a namespace called the CP4i 2020-41, the version of the CP4i, and associated that namespace to the specific resource group. So you can create by clicking the button and choosing the right resource group and provide a name. All right. So just because I've already created, I'm not going to create it. So now this has to be provided. In such case, your command will contain the host name and then the namespace. Then when you issue the command, it will add the / with the registry, which is Confluent IC, and then the tag. Let's take a look at it. So this will be my host name, which contains the host name / the namespace, and then repository will be provided by this. Okay, and then we'll do the Docker tagging. Let's issue the command. I'm going to issue it here. Okay, so we have the value with that, and let us issue this command and check. So it is successfully executed, and let us execute the previous command and check. So now we have images with host name, namespace, registry, and then the image name with the tag. Okay, so eventually, we have completed the second step, and the third step is we are going to push. So let's make use of the same thing, Docker login, right? So before that, you have to do the cloud login. Let me show you the instruction. So in the quick start, you have to log into IBM Cloud login. If you follow this, you have to follow the steps. You should have a IBM Cloud command line instructions installable, which would give you the IBM Cloud executable for you to execute this IBM Cloud plugin, login, creating a container, so on and so forth. So if you follow this, you should be able to reach. You don't need to do this. You need to do till this point. You should be able to log into IBM Cloud container login. Till this point you need to finish. Then you can go on, because you have already executed this Docker load, Docker tag, and you need to execute the Docker push in your local machine. So in your machine, for you to gain access to IBM Cloud Container Registry, you need to execute the command starting from step 1 till step 6, right? And then IBM Cloud container registry login. Okay, so let me finish this by myself, and I will I will come back when I'm about to push the images that we have already tagged. Okay. For more clarity, let me show you this step also. Maybe this would help you to understand it better. I have already completed this. So now I'm going to set my container registry region to this, because I know my OpenShift cluster runs in this specific region. So I'm going to set the region. Okay, so now the region is set, and the registry, the one that we have used in our script, us.icr.io, which is syntax. Come back here. I'm not going to do this because I've already created the namespace. You remember? This is the namespace that I've already created. Hence, I'm not going to create because I use the UI to create. Then do the login to container registry. Okay, so now I have logged into the IBM container registry in the US region. So this is also done. So we have already loaded the Docker image in the local Docker environment. We have done the Docker tagging, and what we are going to do is Docker push. But if you need to do this, you need to do one by one. But they have given a command to push everything together in one shot. Okay, so let's do the Docker login. You have already done it, so I'm not going to use this. That's a Docker host is what is already set, so maybe I'll ignore this because we are not going to do the Docker login to us.ice. Right, so I'm going to comment this, but if you're doing it locally, it's better to log in here, right? In that case, you will not have this, right? So when you do a Docker login, all you need is just a Docker host. So here the same host will be used because the host variable contains your host name and then your namespace. Hence I'm going to I'm going to make use of the same environment so that it will contain the host name clearly, and then it will push the images that has already been tagged with this particular value, which is host name along with the namespace. So let me issue this command. So I'm going to make use of the same environment. So it started pushing. Let me halt or pause for a while. Okay, now I have pushed all the images to IBM Container Registry in IBM Cloud. Just to ensure how many images that we have pushed. There are 27 images that we have pushed it to our container registry. Just to double check, this is the registry namespace that we have pushed, and we have 27 images. Okay, now let us move on to how to install the Confluent platform. So we have completed this. Now installing by using the operator. So unpack the Confluent operator. So I've already unpacked, and this is the content of the operator, which contains scripts, resources, um, Helm scripts, whatever is required for us to move forward. Now we need to follow the instruction provided in this URL for us to configure the default provider. So let's see what this URL contains. So the moment you open that URL, it will be taken to the default provider YAML. But take a look at some of the prerequisites for you to move further: kubectl and Helm. So you need to install kubectl and Helm version 3 by clicking on this. It will take you to the Helm. You can follow the instruction in this Helm to install the Helm. Similarly, kubectl can also be installed by following this instruction. But I would suggest you install the kubectl provided by the OpenShift. The best way to do it, I assume you must have, at this point of time, you should have OpenShift cluster up and running where you have installed the Cloud Pak for integration. You log into the OpenShift administration console, navigate to IBM Common Services namespace, and you identify the route which is named as CP console. You launch it. The moment you launch, it will be taken to this page. Here you can verify the configure client. The configure client does require kubectl, so install CLI tool link will take you to the location wherein you can download the kubectl required version of kubectl for you to move further. So this is 1.19. So expanded depends upon your operating system you choose. So just because I use Mac, I can download the kubectl, and the installation of kubectl, I can tell you how. So I already downloaded the kubectl Darwin. So move this to kubectl. You rename it and make it as an executable, then move the kubectl in your downloaded environment to user local bin. So just to ensure it's there. Yes, it is working. So we are done with the kubectl. I believe you guys can follow the Helm 3 installation instruction to install the Helm. I have already done it. I have installed the Helm version. Now moving on to, okay, so before we move on with this instruction, there are key important steps to be taken care. Let's see what. Go to the IBM, OpenShift admin console. Create a namespace of your choice. In my case, I have created a namespace or a project with this name, for which we need to create a security context constraints. Let's see what is that. We need to go back to the readme.txt file. Okay, so this is the place we were, but we have to complete few steps before we move on. That is a security context constraints. So in the operator package, we need to find the Helm scripts OpenShift where we can find the YAML file. So Helm scripts OpenShift, and we have custom UID and random UID. If you open the README, you can understand the README clearly. Let's stick to the option 1. which is recommended. We can use of the random UID. For you to create an SEC, it is clearly mentioned that this is the operator considered as a namespace or a project name. But in our case, we created this is the namespace name. So what we will do is we will take the random UID SEC YAML, copy this, go to the project. We are in the project. Click on this, it will come import YAML file. Let's change the operator namespace. So this is our namespace. Let's create the SEC. Now coming back to the instruction that we follow, go to the Helm providers, Helm provider. You get to see AWS, Azure, GCP. If you're using any one of this, use the appropriate one. In our case, it is IBM Cloud. Hence, we'll make use of the private. What you need to do is copy the private.yaml with a name. So in my case, I have created or copied the private.yaml as it is to any name of your choice. But I have made changes. Let me explain what changes I have made to this private.yaml after I copied to this file. You don't get panic. In the private.yaml file, I have changed this section, meaning the one that I've copied to this name. So in my case, it is mycp for a blah blah blah. In this file, after I copied, I have changed the content above this. Right? I've changed the content. You may wonder, should I, type the YAML file while looking at this video? No, that will be crazy. I won't suggest you to do that. What you can do is, after you copied this private.yaml to a new file name, go back to the section Confluent operator. Under that directory, you will find the values.yaml. What you can do is you copy the content above SASL till this point and paste it in your new section in your file. So that's it. I have already copied and made few changes. I'll explain. So the highlighted section above SASL till the beginning of the file, I pasted it and I provided the name for region. I left the provider as a private as it is because I would consider private is acceptable values if it is not any of this AWS, Azure, GCP or something. So let us leave it to private. And region is US South because my cluster is running in US South region. Registry, please make a note, right? This is the host name and this is the namespace, right? This is IBM container registry. If you are using your own registry, you provide the fully qualified domain name of your Docker host name. If you have created some other namespaces underneath, you provide that. So in my case, I have IBM container registry host name and I have a namespace. So hence I provided this fully qualified name. IBM container registry requires authentication. Hence by default it is false. You make it true and provide the username. You just provide as it is IAM API key. This is the username. You must provide as it is. The value that you are supposed to get it. Here I have not provided my API key just because I'm recording this. In your case, you have to provide your API key. From where you can get this API key? Go back to IBM Cloud under the manage IAM access IAM and API key. So you have to have an API key here, right? So while creating the API key, say for example, when you're creating an API key, you need to provide the name, and then once it shows the API key, after that it will not show you that. So you have to have this API key. So in my case, I have this API key. In your case, you should have it. Okay. Then leave the storage class as it is. It is clearly specified. If it is empty, it will take storage class will be default storage class will be used. So I just executed OC get SE. I have this list of storage classes defined in my cluster, and I also patched a specific storage class as a default one. So in such case, I'm not going to provide anything. By default, it will take the storage class patched with a default. So let's move on. So I'm not going to touch anything on the telemetry. I'm not going to touch anything on the pod. And then you need to ensure random UID as a true, because we created the security context constraint for random UID. Ensure you are enabling this to true. After that, do not change except only one. Scroll down, search for a load balancer, right, under the control center component. Control center component is nothing but a web application for you to see the cluster status, cluster health, topics. You can go and create a topics, so on and so forth. We'll see that later. Here you need to provide a domain name. In IBM Cloud, what is this value all about? From where you can get this? Let me show you that. Okay, so in IBM Cloud, if you open up the overview section or page of your OpenShift cluster, you get to see the ingress domain. So you need to copy this value, then come back. This is the value, right? This is the value. So in this case, we are going to provide control center UI dot, right? This is the control center UI. So this is the ingress domain that I copied, and I can provide any name with a dot. So I just chose control center UI dot the ingress domain, just to ensure this can be reachable, because it's a subdomain, ingress subdomain. It should work. I'm just pinging that whatever that I provided, so it can resolve to IP of the ingress domain of that OpenShift cluster. Okay, let's move on. So you need to enable this to true for load balancer, and then provide the domain name. So we are good. Just to reiterate, you need to provide the region, registry detail, FQDN with a host name with a namespace, and credential is required. Change it to true. If it is false, provide the value IAM API key and provide the value that you're supposed to. Then random UID equal to true. Then control center should be enabled, and provide a domain name. So this is the change that you need to make in your YAML file. So if we get back to the instruction, we have taken care the storage part of it, and we have provided the load balancer part of it. We have enabled it. Next thing is we need to deploy this using the script file provided by them in the namespace that we have created by providing a name of the release. And this is the value file, that's the YAML file that you have created. Let's see how we can do that. So this is the command that I'm going to execute. So this script file is available in the same operator scripts operator.util.sh, and this is the export. This is the fully qualified location of the YAML file that we have created. So I'm going to set the YAML file, and then this is the namespace where we are going to create a release. Here is the name of the release. I can say Confluent Kafka 1 and the fully qualified name. So let's take a look at it. Before that, before you execute that, you have to set the you have to ensure that you are able to log in and set the right cube the context information. So how do we do that? Just get onto the IBM Cloud Pak administration console, which provides the client configuration. Copy that context information, paste it here. Now coming back, copy the command, and let's see our luck. Okay, Kubernetes cluster access has failed, so I think I should do a login also. Just give me a minute. Okay, so I'm just doing the OC login. Login succeeded. Let me give a shot again. So yeah, now it is getting through. Now it is installing the operator, which is this is the name of the release, and it is suffix with the operator. Now it is moving on to release name with the zookeeper. Let's take a look at the pods and the so operator has just started. So now zookeeper is coming. So let's wait for a while. So now, yeah. Now it was zookeeper before. Now it does move on to Kafka. So zookeeper is over, and Kafka is in pending state. Let's wait for it to come. So just to ensure from where these images are being pulled, can you see? This is being pulled from IBM Container Registry. This is the namespace that we have provided in the YAML file, and this is the registry that. So this, these are all the key information that you need to be aware of. And this is the operator. This is image with the registry name and the namespace and the container registry hostname. So now Kafka is done. Now we have a replicator connect C3 that is going on. So let's wait for it to come. So here it clearly says case equals schema registry control center. So these are all the components being deployed, and it will be up soon. So you get to see case equals schema registry, replicator, control center, everything, connector, so on and so forth. In fact, it has completed successfully. And look at the pods. All the pods are in running state. Please make a note. It will take at least 9 minutes for you to finish the complete installation of Confluent Platform. Okay, so what is next? And we are glad and happy that we have successfully installed the Confluent Platform. So how do we ensure it's up and running? Is there any UI? Yes, that's what I told you. We have a control center which would help you to log in and see the status of your cluster, Kafka cluster. Let's see how to look at it. So in the same section in the Confluent documentation, we were in the quick start. If you look at it, we were in the quick start. If you scroll down further under the demos, you will see the um, Confluent platform on OpenShift container platform on AWS. Just ignore AWS for a while, right? So you execute this command, you will get to see the load balancer IP address, the one that we have provided during our installation. So I've already executed a command and I've got an IP address. Okay, so going back to this, just say HTTP it'll ask for the username and password. It is admin and developer1. So the password is admin and the password is capital D developer1 with the D caps on. So now we have the cluster. Now you can see the control center, you can see the broker, you can add a topic, you get to see the topic, partitions, the connect information. So for us to claim that we have successfully installed the Confluent, you can, this is the way that you can ensure that it is running. So with this, I would like to conclude the installation of Confluent on Cloud Pak for integration, and have a nice day. Thank you for watching. Bye.